So dance halls become very popular in Japan, especially in metropolitan centers like Tokyo and Osaka in the 1920s in particular. And it is accompanied with introduction of new Western music, not just classical music, but jazz, tango. And so these music and dance are being consumed by urbanites in cities like Tokyo and Osaka, and they're seen as a place where, on the one hand, you're adopting a somewhat respectable Western culture, but is also seen as a potential underworld where men and women are socializing, and these become so popular that, in fact, police start to take notice, and so they are subjected to, throughout 1920s and 1930s, occasional bans, police restrictions. There are angry editorials worrying about the effects of dancing on social mores. Oftentimes, these would be catered less to sort of both genders, but in fact, it would be mostly male customers going to these places in many of these establishments, literally buying tickets to dance with women who are employed by the dance halls. And so there's a way in which this is also part of a whole slew of actually sexualized entertainment industries that are emerging in urban centers. And so there's a kind of spectrum of entertainment industry that emerged in kind of the more seedier parts of Tokyo or Osaka, and dance halls are certainly part of it.
If we move on, we get another kind of popular culture of the casino follies.
Yes.
You read about that a lot. You know, great writers like Kawabata Yasunari, who won the Nobel Prize in Literature in the post-war period, but he'll mention, you know, nightlife and entertainment districts and so on. You get loads of references to the Follies and to people working in these shows.
Casino Follies and other establishments like that, again, were set in the entertainment district of Asakusa. And yes. Asakusa, as I alluded to earlier, was in fact, for hundreds of years, center of pilgrimage and therefore also entertainment, even during the Tokugawa era. But in 20th century Japan, it becomes, on the one hand, the center of film industry or film consumption, a center of movies, but also center of a whole gamut of entertainment, lowbrow entertainment from people who are doing tricks, magics, magicians, dancers. And so Asakusa, throughout this period, 19-teens through 1930s and 40s, is basically the Tokyo city's amusement quarter, and it's the place where people go to get entertained. And Casino Follies, again, is an example of a westernized, somewhat westernized form of entertainment that sometimes put on things like a sort of twisted version of Western operettas and things like that. There was even a phenomenon called Asakusa Opera or Asakusa Opera, which was decidedly not a highbrow opera, but a kind of middle to lowbrow opera production that tried to popularize Western music to a broader audience, and not especially, again, to a highbrow audience.
If you get into the photographic record, which we're not going to get into, you also see Western-style chorus girls and chorus lines and,
absolutely,
and so on. You can imagine how bedazzling this must have been to young men coming in from the countryside to the big city, or even to young women, the dazzling big city.
And the writer that you mentioned just now, Kawabata, does an especially nice job of depicting the complexity and the senses of this world in a volume called The Scarlet Gang of Asakusa.
That's a great book.
Which is about this kids gang, children's gang, ostensibly, that lives in Asakusa and goes in and out of these different entertainment quarters and so forth. It's a fascinating place.